Pause for a moment. Look around you. What do you see? A phone, a computer, furniture, clothes, a roof over your head. You work tirelessly, you save, you accumulate. Every day, you are chasing more. You are, by modern standards, striving for wealth. But what if everything you've been taught about richness, about prosperity, about what it means to be truly well off, is completely fundamentally wrong? What if your ancestors, people who lived in a world without banks, without currency, without even the concept of private property, were, in a deep and profound sense, richer than you could ever imagine? This isn't a romanticized fantasy. This is a scientific, anthropological truth. The deeper we dig into how ancient humans lived, the more we uncover a definition of wealth so radically different from ours, it exposes a glaring, aching poverty in our modern lives. And by the end of this video, you might find yourself asking, who are the truly rich ones? Let's rewind, hundreds of thousands of years. Step into the world of your ancient ancestors. A world of staggering beauty, yes, but also one of constant danger and immense uncertainty. There were no supermarkets, no hospitals, no police, no social security numbers, no insurance policies, no 401ks. There was no concept of a mortgage because there was no ownership of land. Life was hard. Resources were often scarce. Every day was a dance with survival. From our modern perspective, this sounds like the epitome of poverty. A hand-to-mouth existence constantly on the brink. You picture a life of grim struggle, deprivation, and misery. And that's where your modern mind gets it completely wrong. You see, we make a crucial mistake. We try to measure their wealth with our ledger. We tally their possessions, 0 houses, 0 cars, 0 savings accounts, and conclude they must have been destitute. But what if their ledger was simply tracking entirely different things? What if their economy wasn't based on what they owned, but on what they shared? Not on what they accumulated, but on what they contributed. What if the true currency of ancient humanity wasn't gold, or land, or possessions, but something far more valuable, far more resilient? Something you can't buy, can't hoard, and something many of us are constantly losing. Let's start with the first, and arguably most crucial, pillar of ancient wealth: social capital. For your ancestors, their true net worth wasn't measured in animal hides or sharpened tools. It was measured in relationships, in the strength of their bonds, the depth of their trust, and the intricate web of reciprocity that defined their community. Imagine this. You're a hunter. You spend all day tracking a large animal. You make the kill. By modern standards, that's your meat, your effort, your reward. But in the ancient world, that meat was instantly, inherently shared. Not out of charity, but out of necessity, and out of a deep understanding of mutual survival. Today, you are the provider. Tomorrow, you might be the one who failed, whose family is hungry. The wealth of that kill wasn't just calories. It was the reinforcing of an unbreakable social contract. Anthropological studies of modern-day hunter-gatherer societies, like the Hadza of Tanzania or the Juhwanzi Bushmen of the Kalahari, reveal this system in stark clarity. Food sharing isn't an option, it's an obligation. To refuse to share is to invite social ostracism, which in that world was a death sentence. Your wealth wasn't what you had. It was who you knew and who you could rely on. It was the knowing that if you fell ill, someone would care for you. If you were injured, someone would hunt for you. If your child needed guidance, an entire community stood ready to teach. Your personal safety net wasn't a bank account. It was 30 or 40 deeply connected individuals who literally had your back. Compare that to today. You might have a sprawling house, a bulging bank account, but if a crisis hits, how many people can you call upon without hesitation, knowing they'll show up, no questions asked? In a world of increasing social isolation and fragmented communities, are we truly rich if our most vital safety net, human connection, is unraveling? The second pillar of ancient wealth: skill and knowledge. In a world without specialists or standardized jobs, individual mastery of essential skills was priceless. A master flint knapper who could craft a spear point that consistently found its mark. A master tracker who could read a landscape like a book and find game where others saw only empty earth. A master storyteller who could hold an entire community spellbound around a fire, passing on history, wisdom, and moral lessons. A master healer who knew the secrets of the plants and the subtle cues of the human body. These weren't just professions. These were forms of deeply respected, highly valued wealth. This knowledge, this expertise, wasn't something to be hoarded for individual gain. It was a communal resource. The flint knapper's skill benefited the entire group. The tracker's knowledge fed everyone. The storyteller's wisdom guided all. To be skilled was to be indispensable. To be indispensable was to be secure. Your job security wasn't a contract. It was your unique contribution to the collective survival and flourishing of your people. Your value was tied to your competence and how it served the whole. Today, we specialize to an extreme. Many of us have highly specific, often abstract skills. But how many truly essential skills do we possess for direct survival? Could you build your own shelter? Find your own food and water? Heal a wound without a hospital? Ancient humans carried entire encyclopedias of practical knowledge in their minds and bodies. Their expertise was their treasury, a living, breathing asset that ensured the well-being of their tribe. The third pillar, ecological abundance. For ancient humans, the natural world itself was their bank account. A healthy, thriving ecosystem was the ultimate source of wealth. Clean water, diverse and plentiful game, abundant edible plants, rich soil for occasional opportunistic cultivation. These weren't commodities to be bought and sold. They were the inherent shared prosperity of their environment. When you lived entirely off the land's health was your wealth. A river that ran clear was priceless. A forest teeming with life was invaluable. The seasonal migrations of animals were a predictable dividend. This wealth was communal, accessible to all members of the group, and maintained through practices that were intrinsically sustainable because their survival depended on it. They understood intimately that you don't foul your own nest. Compare that to our current reality. We privatize water, clear-cut forests, pollute rivers, deplete fish stocks. We define economic growth by extracting and consuming these natural resources, often to their breaking point. We pay for bottled water, for organic produce, for access to nature. What was once the common, freely available wealth of all is now a commodity, often reserved for those who can afford it. Were your ancestors poor, living in a pristine, resource-rich world, where everything they needed was freely provided by nature to be taken with respect and shared within the community? Or are we poorer, living in a world of manufactured scarcity, where the very air we breathe and water we drink can be bought and sold? And finally, the fourth pillar of ancient wealth, perhaps the most surprising to your modern mind, time and autonomy. The persistent myth of ancient life is that it was a relentless, never-ending struggle for survival, leaving no time for anything else. But anthropological research, notably from thinkers like Marshall Solins, who famously called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society, painted a very different picture. While life certainly had its challenges, many of these societies actually had surprisingly generous amounts of leisure time. Studies suggest that many hunter-gatherer groups spent only a few hours a day on subsistence activities, hunting, gathering, preparing food. The rest of their time was dedicated to what they valued most: play, storytelling, social bonding, crafting, ceremonies, art, and simply being. They had enormous autonomy over their day. No boss, no commutes, no strict schedules, their time was their own. Imagine that. True freedom from the clock. Freedom to pursue what brought joy, strengthened bonds, and deepened understanding, not as a reward for work, but as the very point of being alive. Contrast this with the modern experience. We are slaves to the clock, to the boss, to the schedule. We have an abundance of labor-saving devices, yet we feel more time poor than ever. We work longer hours, juggle more responsibilities, and often feel a chronic lack of control over our own lives. We chase efficiency and productivity until we burn out, longing for the very leisure time that was the birthright of our ancestors. Is true wealth measured in the accumulation of things, or in the freedom to live your life on your own terms? So, how did we lose this ancient wealth? How did we transition from a system where connection, skill, nature, and time were the ultimate currencies to one obsessed with accumulating physical possessions and abstract numbers? The great reversal began with agriculture. Around 10,000 years ago, humanity started to farm. This was undeniably a monumental shift, allowing for larger populations and settled communities. But it came at a profound cost. Farming introduced the concept of land ownership. It created surpluses that needed to be protected, leading to concepts of private property and, ironically, scarcity where there once was abundance. Suddenly, you weren't just taking what you needed. You were trying to produce more than you needed to store it, to defend it. Work hours exploded. Farmers generally worked much harder and longer than hunter-gatherers. Social hierarchies became more rigid. The value of communal sharing began to erode as individuals focused on their harvest, their animals, their plot of land. Wealth became tangible, fixed, and something that could be taken, hoarded, and passed down to individual heirs. And with this new definition of wealth came new forms of poverty, anxiety, and conflict. So when you look at your life today, with all its material abundance, how do you measure up against your ancient ancestors? You have a roof over your head, but do you have a community that would unquestioningly risk everything for you? You have specialized skills, but do you possess the fundamental knowledge to survive if the systems supporting you collapse? You can buy food and water, but do you live in a world where nature's bounty is freely shared and respected or relentlessly exploited? You have endless entertainment, but do you have the time and autonomy to truly live, to play, to connect without the constant pressure of making a living? Perhaps we, your ancient ancestors, living with nothing you would recognize as possessions, were in fact living in a state of profound affluence. An affluence of connection, of purpose, of competence, and of time. This isn't to say we should all abandon our lives and move to the wilderness. That's not the point. The point is to challenge our ingrained assumptions, to question the very ledger we use to tally our lives. What if true wealth isn't about the endless pursuit of more, but about cultivating strong bonds, mastering meaningful skills, living in harmony with our environment, and reclaiming autonomy over our precious time? What if, by chasing what we defined as poverty, the endless accumulation of things, you've inadvertently stumbled into a different kind of poverty? A poverty of connection, of meaning, of time, and of genuine, deep-seated well-being. Your ancestors were rich, not in spite of having no possessions, but often precisely because of it. Their lack of material encumbrance freed them to invest in what truly mattered: each other, their skills, their world, and their lives. And maybe, just maybe, there's a powerful lesson in that ancient ledger for all of us today. What does this ancient definition of wealth make you rethink about your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this journey into the mind of your ancestors resonated with you, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to Ancoria for more explorations into the untold stories of what it means to be human. Until next time.